Not all superheroes wears capes. Some wear wellies. Wellies.
Hello everyone and welcome to the James Conway Experience. Now, as you know, at this stage we are always willing to talk to the people that the mainstream media does not want to speak to and talk about the stories that the mainstream media would wish would go away. So if you remember correctly, on the 11th of December 2018 in Falsk in Strokestown, there was an eviction, and following that eviction the evictors were moved on. That resulted in the imprisonment of three men, Paul Beirne, Martin O'Toole and PJ Sweeney. Questionable decision in my view, and we're going to find out more about it tonight. We're here with the wife of Paul Beirne, Patricia Beirne, and Colm Granahan, who has prepared the affidavit that will be going through the courts in the hopes of overturning what is viewed as a wrongful arrest, really and truly. So we'll start with yourself, Colm. I have the affidavit in front of me, and we will be putting this up on the website so people who watch the podcast can see it themselves. You might start going through the affidavit and just explain why it is that you believe that this case should not have even gone to court, let alone been prosecuted.
Yeah, well, maybe if I take the last bit first, and the men being prosecuted, that should never have happened because, as you'll see from my affidavit, there never was an eviction order or an execution order against any of the McGann family. There never was a lawful court order. It's not in existence. We have confirmation from the Central Office that it never existed. But there was a manufactured order created, and it was introduced in the trial where Paul Beirne, Martin O'Toole and PJ Sweeney was jailed for removing the trespasser. That's basically what it was. And what I'm saying in the fact of them doing that it was an act of necessity. Them men done saving their community and the people from being out on the roads. We all seen this in the history. They've done it before, and if they're let, they'll do it again. The fact is, they done their community and a lot of communities around the country a service by getting rid of these foreign agents who had no jurisdiction in the country. They had no licenses. They were even convicted in this country. But the word there unlawfully never came across. They have absolutely wallpapered over everything that they done wrong. I have it in an affidavit where the man that had the dogs that they used in the evictions of the McGanns, they were ex-PSNI dogs, and they were too vicious for the PSNI. And Ian Gordon took them off the PSNI, the former mercenary with the British Army, whatever he was in it. He was the one that got the dogs off the PSNI. And he brought them down, and in an affidavit, going through the affidavit for the boys' trial, one of the security men, or so-called only, said that if the McGanns resisted leaving the property, that he was to let the dogs loose on them. That's what he was told. He has it down. I have the affidavit. I can prove it at any stage. And that's the sort of stuff that went on. They were there, brought in from outside the jurisdiction to do a job. There was no lawful order, no of any description, nothing lawful. The guards had nothing lawful. Vincent J. Murphy had nothing lawful, the county register, and Darry Kiernan, the solicitor for KBC Bank, he had nothing. But he intervened when Danny Noon was being questioned on the stand, given evidence under oath. He was being questioned about that order. And his words were, he says, I didn't sign that order, I signed a copy. That's in the transcript, I have it from the court. So he signed a copy of an order that never came out of the Central Office. So they're going around it in circles, left, right and centre, to make the public and the courts believe that they have an order, where the only ways to find that out is just contact the central office and they'll tell them the exact same thing as they told us. No order exists. We have it on several pieces of paper. We got it across the counter within when we went in to look for the order. There is no order.
So would it be your opinion that there was no order to repossess this property? The people who worked to repossess this property had no licence to operate in the country, and the Gardaí basically facilitated this to happen.
110%. And to make it and to tell you why they couldn't get an execution or possession order for the place is because David, the older brother of Anthony, was born in that house. He was born in that actual home, farm, and he had equitable and beneficial interest in that. It was the home where he lived. He had a little couple of calves and cats and things like that on the farm. And he got a notice when they were trying to call in the loan that if he thought his interest in the place may be affected, that he could turn up a court. He didn't turn up a court. They couldn't do anything to his interest in the property. He had no contract with anyone. It was his place. That's all there was in it. And that resulted in they got a possession order against Anthony. They couldn't get a possession order against him. And then in the trial, they tried to say that he was coming and going to the place. They just plastered over every crack that we opened up. You see, we've been at this now for the past 5 years and gone through every page over and over again to see what they've done. And it has taken some time for them to create the collective collusion that was involved in the conviction of these men. And I do honestly believe, and this is serious, the length the trial took is because of the issues that we had put from before Paul went in. He had written looking for different paperwork as proofs. And they didn't deal with them, but they were mentioned and passed over as if, that's sorted now, move on to the next thing. And that's why there was days off. The jury was sent out. I never heard of a jury going out more times in my life. And there was days off. It was suspended. There was a judge going down. The judge that was in the trial had to go down to different parts of the country. This was rehearsal. They rehearsed every aspect of it. Can I prove that? I cannot prove it. But with the ways of the deceit and the lies and the ways that they were delivered, there's no other way it could have been.
Well, let's get to what you furnished me here with, because we're going to put this up on the website, because there's a lot of people who'll be watching this who, are idle watchers of that, but I do know that there are people who watch it that have a background in legality and that, and we'll have this up on the website at jamesconwayexp.com. This is the affidavit that's prepared by Colm Granahan. It's already been to the court, so
yes.
It's in the public domain already.
Yes.
So if we can go to point 1, and basically, Colm, what I'd like you to do is just to read it out, and then I'll perhaps put a question towards it. What does that mean? What does this part mean? All the rest of it. And then we'll get through this document. And hopefully by the end of it, it will show the general public that there are serious question marks over the imprisonment of these 3 men.
Yeah, well, it's wrongful imprisonment, miscarriage, justice, whatever you want to call it, but it's wrong, 100% wrong. Now, will I start? Yeah.
Please.
I say that a verdict delivered in criminal case record number 0025/2019 on the 2nd day of June 2023 is completely unsafe and based on forged documents, false evidence, positive fraud, perjury and collusion that was put before the jury and the court.
Well, that's quite basic in my eyes. I don't have any questions on that. That's a statement by yourself that's going to, be followed up with evidence to prove that statement in the next paragraph. So, yes, let's move on to part 2 there.
I say from evidence supplied by the County Register Fintan J. Murphy, dated the 27th day of August 2018, and this is what he states. The solicitor for the plaintiff has lodged an order for possession of all that and those in the property comprised in folio number RN 32752 on Register of Freeholders, County Roscommon, more commonly known as Falks, Strokestown, County Roscommon. I propose to execute within the next 2 months. I have Exhibit CMG1. That's the exhibit. That's a letter from Fintan J. Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's that now. Will I continue?
Please.
Yeah. I do further say that a letter dated the 20th day of November 2018 states, please quote in all correspondence record number 2079/2018. And the Exhibit 2 is a copy of that letter.
Why are they referencing that letter?
Because we had asked questions about the High Court order.
Okay.
So the switch, this is in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time that this number appeared. But there never was any circuit court proceedings in this case, and that's a circuit court number. And okay. he says that if you look back where the solicitor for the plaintiff has lodged an order. So he's saying the solicitor for KBC Bank, that's Derek Kiernan of Joint and Crawford, lodged an order with him, a circuit court order, to execute. A circuit court order.
And no circuit court was held?
No circuit court was held. But that has nothing to do with the order the man was jailed on. That comes later on in the affidavit. That was a High Court order that never existed either.
Yes, but you would have to call into question that these offences, so-called offences, would never have occurred if the law had been followed in the first place.
But sure, if the guards, like you look at it, someone coming to take something from you, and the guards sort of come up the road and say, oh, he's all right, he has paperwork to say he can take it. You know he hasn't. Yes. He comes in and takes it. Are you going to leave him there?
No, well, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but I think it's important for people to know that the initial eviction is where the serious question marks are on. Yeah. And without that initial eviction, things that happened afterwards would never have taken place.
Never. So there'd be no need for these men was happy family men that hadn't interfered, wronged anyone, and no need to. But if you stand up for your community here now, they take you out because they want to control the community. That's all that's happening.
Yeah. Okay, so let's head on there. Yeah. Please.
I do further say in correspondence dated the 17th day of September 2020, KBC Bank Ireland versus Michael Anthony McGann in record number 2079/2018, Fintan J. Murphy, then County Register, states, as advised earlier, the execution order has been returned to the solicitor for the plaintiff, KBC Bank. Now, the importance of that is Fintan Murphy has said in a letter that he returned the circuit court order after it was executed to the solicitor for the plaintiff. That's what the County Register Sheriff has said. That's what he has done on the circuit court proceedings. The proceedings that was judged in the trial in the High Court was High Court proceedings, which they had no order at all for. Do you see? These proceedings never took place. There never was circuit court proceedings, but he returned the order to the solicitor for the plaintiff.
So how does an order be returned if the proceedings never took place?
Well, that's, you tell me. I wouldn't be involved that much in fraud to know how them things happen within in their arena, but that's what has happened. That's black and white. I have the proofs of it. I have the letters, the original letters and copies of that.
Is there a situation here possibly at foot then that people are forging circuit court documents?
Let alone forging circuit court documents, the High Court order was forged as well, and they forged a High Court register's name on it and gave the impression that it was from the retired chief, what do you call him? No, but the head of the High Court. That's whose name was on it.
My God Almighty,
Yeah.
this is very, very serious.
Oh, it's more serious. Like, it's why the public out there hasn't got any of this in the newspapers. And I tell you, the straight fact of the matter is that when we were jailed for contempt of that order, it was Rasta Fanning, I'll only speak for me, that was there to put me behind bars on a fraudulent order because I disobeyed a court order that was got on an order that came out, that they said came out of the High Court Central Office. It never came out of it. We have that confirmed. So Rasta Fanning is involved in it. Joint and Crawford Solicitors is involved in it. Fintan Murphy, the county register for my own Roscommon, now retired, he's in it up to his eyebrows. He was the only one that could have facilitated, and he was above in the financial end of the High Court. He was involved in that, meeting bankers every other day of the week. So we cannot say the made a pact between them. We all know it. There's none of us stupid. The ways that was all facilitated. And just to add more fuel to the fire on that, Darragh Kiernan sent an email into the trial to try and justify the High Court order. He said that the order was issued on the 8th of August. It was given in evidence when Martin O'Toole's barrister started questioning the validity of the order. They got the confirmation from Darragh Kiernan, the solicitor for the bank, instead of what the judge says, go to the Central Office of the High Court. Central Office of the High Court will give them the exact same that they gave us. There is no order. But you see, that wouldn't suit the prosecution because they went to the plaintiff, the solicitor for the bank. He gave them what they wanted in an email, and it was only produced to the four councils. We weren't supposed to see it, anyone wasn't supposed to see it, but Blaise O'Carroll, he was talking to me about the validity of the order, and I had given him what I knew about it not being valid, and he was following it through. And he came out and he says, that is a valid order. He says, we were going the wrong road. He says, here, showed it to me. And someone called him and he went off in again and he left me there with the order. Or with the email. And I have a copy of that email that was sent to the four senior counsels for the defendants. That came from Darragh Kiernan, not from the Central Office.
Okay, so you have someone operating outside of the remit of the Central Office that's specifying the validity of documents from the Central Office.
No, well, he was validating it, and he said at the end of the email, needless to say, the Central Office wouldn't have issued this order unless all was in place. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what he's basically done then is played a part in the prosecution of four men.
He did.
Or three men, sorry. Let's move on. We'll keep sticking to this because, as I said, what I want anyone to do thus far, you've been listening, we will get this up and I want you to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and I want you to contact journalists outside of Ireland especially, because it's amazing to me how these cases in Ireland manage to be buried. So yeah, if there's interested parties, and I know there's quite a number of interested parties now in America on how Ireland actually operates, I think this case blows it wide open on how Ireland actually operates. So let's go to the next part then. Yeah. Okay.
Well, and the next part is about what gives the guards. I do say a posse comitatus was formed to execute a circuit court order, the record number 2079, to take possession of folio RN 32752. Now, that's the posse comitatus is what's notified to the guards that they will be doing repossession under that order, and that they want the guards there in case there's any shenanigans.
Well, basically as well, the Gardaí's role in that is to not facilitate it, but to prevent civil disturbance outside, but not to get involved.
Not to get involved. Well,
and certainly not to cross property lines.
Well, we have photographs of them within on the property, and it was a vanguard or whatever you call them nowadays, I don't know, a woman guard, and he was that went in to remove Geraldine, the sister, out of the house. She actually went in to the house and took her out.
A member of our Garda Síochána entered the house and removed a person from the house.
Along with British agents, whatever you want to call them.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's number 5. And number 6, I say that on the evidence provided by the County Register, Fintan J. Murphy, proves beyond any doubt Darragh Kiernan, solicitor for KBC Bank, sent the Register a Circuit Court order, the number on it, 2079/2018, to execute for all contained in folio number RN 32752. And written on that Circuit Court order was Nigel Bushell, Court Messenger, has been nominated as a point of contact. That's what the County Register sent to the Superintendent James Boyle of the Cashlery Garda Station at the time.
Okay.
That's the request he made for police help, was to execute a Circuit Court order. So I say Nigel Bushell, Court Messenger, Danny Noon, KBC Bank official, and Darragh Kiernan, partner at Joint and Crawford Solicitors, colluded to validate a bogus High Court execution order that never was issued from the High Court Central Office. Number 8, I say on the 14th day of March 2023, this bogus, unsigned High Court execution order was presented to the jury by Anne Rowland, Senior Prosecutor, in criminal case record number 0025/2019. That's the Three Boys criminal case.
Okay.
And false evidence was given under oath to validate this bogus order. And I have in there to see the exhibits. I have the transcript where the evidence and what was given and what was said, and I have all that proof. And this is without doubt anything that's down here. I can prove 1000% from their own hand, not from my hand, from their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's it. Now, number 9. I say no High Court execution order dated for the 8th day of August 2018 in KBC Bank PLC versus Michael Anthony McGann, and in the case record number, was ever issued against Michael Anthony McGann or David McGann, and this has been confirmed both orally and by email by the High Court Central Office. And I have them emails, they are exhibits to go in there. I have the proof that they don't exist.
So you can prove beyond reasonable doubt,
beyond any doubt,
yes, that the High Court Central Office has never furnished a High Court order to repossess anything in relation to this portfolio.
Anything. I have it in confirmation, it's in emails, and I've asked them for it. And there is no orders. That's all that they send out. So, and we've done it for a few different areas of the country. We even sent in one email to say that I need confirmation or a copy of this order because it's relevant to a case I'm in.
Well, that leaves a gaping problem, because that means in Ireland a repossession took place that had no High Court order, had allowed foreign agents into the country who had no licence to operate in the country, was facilitated by the Gardaí, and then the Gardaí got involved in the repossession.
Went in and helped the foreign agents to remove one of the occupants.
Okay, well, people need to really, really look into this, because I think this stinks to high heaven. Okay, let's move on again.
What one were we at? 9, was it?
Yes. You're on 10 now,
on
Colm.
10.
Yeah.
I say that the evidence provided, supplied to the jury in criminal case 0025/2019, that's the criminal case of Paul, Martin and PJ, is based on a bogus execution order created for the 8th day of August, containing the same folio number, RN 32752, as the Circuit Court order, and that number is in there as well. The County Register, Fintan J. Murphy for the County of Roscommon, has confirmed that it was a Circuit Court order that was executed by his messenger, Nigel Bushell. I say there was never any Circuit Court proceedings involving the folio number between KBC Bank and any of the McGann family.
Okay, so what they have done here is they have spoken about a High Court order. They have then realised during the course of the trial that shit wasn't going to stick to a wall. So
no, before the trial.
Okay.
Before the trial we had them, and if you look back on the video of the day, Anthony says, you have no order. That's not an order of the High Court. He
Perfect.
says it. Yeah.
So this Circuit Court order is a creation.
A creation, manufactured to give a sideline. You know, when we started questioning the High Court order, this is where it came in 2018. Like this case with KBC, they're going on since 2012, I think, in the High Court. But this Circuit Court, you might see a case that'll be in the Circuit Court jumping up to the High Court, but you'd never see a case that's in the High Court jumping back to the Circuit Court.
Yeah, not to my knowledge, surely to God, yeah.
No, but like this started in 2018, a case record number that cannot be got. You cannot get it anywhere. But it's on, except on this paper that they produced.
Well, this, and you know, fair be it for me to say anything of legal standing, but to me, this proves that lies were told during the court of the prosecution of these three men. These three men has to be released.
Oh, that's, I have done, I think, I don't know, is it 9 or 10 habeas corpuses, putting this in front of different juries. On some days I put, or different judges. Some days I put it in front of 2 judges. Not all that's contained in this, but as I was getting the evidence, every time I thought I had enough to show that the conviction was unsafe and one judge told me I didn't have the standing to bring it. How do I know that you're representing these 3 men? And I says to him back, do you think it's how they want to stay in jail? This is, I'm here to try and get them out. And you haven't any proof from me that they asked you. That's what he
Okay.
Every, you know.
So they've done every angle to try and prevent you to present this.
Procedural, everything they have done. They cannot stop the facts. No one can stop the facts. Is there. They're down. We have them copied. We have them in different locations. They're as safe as a house. But they stop me on procedure.
They do. They're obviously accepting that then, you know.
Well, this is your duty as the watcher of this, is to make such a stink about this that they can no longer deny that this goes forward. That's that's your duty as the listener this evening, is to get on to your local TD, is to get on to, as I says, journalists inside and outside of the country. You know, if you want a situation where when you fall on hard times with your mortgage or something like that, that you can be thrown out to the side of the road without a High Court order. Well, if you want that situation, good and well, but if you want to prevent it, I would be highlighting this case very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, without any lawful documentation whatsoever.
No, and the issue there, Colm, that basically what you've proven beyond reasonable doubt is that there has been creation of documentation to support prosecution, which is...
Yeah.
It's absolutely mind-boggling. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Yeah.
Where were we at?
12.
Number 12. I say KBC Bank and its agents, Darragh Kiernan, Danny Noon and Nigel Bushell, have deliberately misled the jury and the courts with false documentation, perjury and collusion to get an unlawful conviction against Martin O'Toole, PJ Sweeney and Paul Beirne to legitimise a bogus execution court order and make a gain for themselves and their others.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Straightforward enough. I'm not going to question on that. It looks like...
Yeah. Oh, well, I have the proof. I have the transcript.
No, that's it.
Yeah. And as I say, this is under oath.
Yes.
This is the sworn document.
Yes.
That's before the court. If there's any issue, do me for perjury.
Yes.
And I wish that they'd come and try. And
no, they won't.
They won't. Not a hope. I say proof beyond any doubt that the bogus High Court execution order that was created for the 8th day of August 2018, that was unlawfully used to evict the McGann family and was also used as the ultimate weapon to convict PJ Sweeney, Martin O'Toole and Paul Beirne to acquire a benefit of financial gain for them. I say the evidence herein is fully conclusive that KBC Bank and its agents have never been lawfully mortgagee in possession of folio number RN 32752 in False, Strokestown, County Roscommon on the 11th day of December or at any other time.
Now, would it be an indication of that? To my knowledge, they still have not taken that property. The McGann family are continuing to farm that property.
Yes.
The residence is still there in, I don't know what state of repair, but there's certainly nobody attempting to repair it or do something with it.
Well, what they done before they left it was they smashed every windows, pulled down ceilings. They didn't get the electricity turned off.
Yes.
They cut it above the box. It's still live. They cut it.
It's actually dangerous.
It's deadly dangerous. But that's what they done in the house. We are in and out to it every day. The McGann is farming the land. There is nothing. They cannot risk bringing them back to court again.
Out of interest, does KBC pay the electricity bill?
They do not. No, Anthony.
I bet you they don't.
They don't. But they did at one stage pay property tax before we started highlighting all that we discovered.
And then they stopped.
Then they stopped 1 year. They paid it and then they stopped. Yeah, because they know where it's going and they know that they never will get it. They have men in jail and that's what they think that is going to keep us occupied, trying to get them out of jail. But the whole thing is tied in because they're in jail because of the false evidence, the false instruments and the false documentation that they have used. And even bringing land registry into the dilemma. Because they put a fella up there from the top of the country as well, Mooney Farms Limited, he's originally from Offaly. They put his name down on the land registry. We know why they put it down. That's not an issue for here. We know why they put his name down. But that's it. That they sold it for, I think it was... They said that they sold it for 20,000 and the revenue had a different figure. KBC Bank had a different figure and Mooney Farms that bought it didn't have the money to buy it in their account.
So how many acres are we talking about?
33.
So they bought 33 acres for 20,000.
And a house.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Oh, it gets better, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just getting more believable by the minute, this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, look, I'm with you so far, Carl.
Yeah.
I haven't picked too many holes in what you've said here.
Yeah.
As I said, this is your affidavit. I'm going on what you're presenting here to me. It's my view that this should be back in front of the courts again. And it's certainly my view that I don't think you can have these men locked up while this is being heard.
Not at all. But the fact is that there's nothing to hear. The facts are before the court.
But the court is refusing to hear them.
Refusing. Everything about standing, about where you got the information, like that was, they were awful concerned. The DPP had an objection to me using that email that came from Derek Kiernan to say that they had a valid High Court order. The DPP objected to me using that and wanted to know, how did I get it? Who did I take it off? I said, what happened? The counsel for Martin O'Toole, he says, here you are. Derek Kiernan said that they have the High Court order. He was convinced with that. I wasn't, because I already had known that they didn't have anyone. But I held on to the paper and they wanted to do me for having the paper after him giving it to me. You know, this is the stuff that they go on with.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
13.
13. I say proof beyond any doubt that the bogus High Court execution order was created. I think I've done that one.
Yeah.
14. I say from the evidence Herein, it is fully conclusive that KBC Bank and its agents have never been lawfully mortgagee in possession of folio number RN 32752 at Fals, Strokestown, County Roscommon on the 11th day of December or at any other time.
Yeah, well, that was the last
Yeah.
one, so let's go on to 15 there.
I say that I have the right under Article 40.4.2 degrees of the Constitution to bring this application on behalf of Paul Beirne, PJ Sweeney, Martin O'Toole, and see Exhibit CMG9.
Now,
No.
could it be as simple as this? And I'm not saying anything, but now we have a public audience there. Your husband and the other two gentlemen quite clearly want this to go to court. So could it be as simple as just a letter from the three men and 3 signatures to say this man wants to launch this affidavit on our behalf and we're comfortable with that idea?
Yes, if we can get them to send that out of the court, definitely, or
Yeah.
out of the prisons.
Yeah.
That's if they get that. But before we go on to that, I'll tell you what Exhibit 9 is. Because of the Constitution, it's a constitutional writ to get them out of prison. That's what it's under Article 40.4.2. What I done was, years ago, there used to be such thing as a grand jury. It
Yes.
still operates in America.
Yes.
Where people decide if something needs to be heard again.
Mm-hmm.
And that the evidence shows that it needs to be heard in a court case. So I took it on myself to get 13 people to swear affidavits after seeing the evidence that they say that it should be heard again.
Yes.
Now, that's what happened with this crack is that when they done away with the grand jury, they gave the power to county councillors. But the county councillors shouldn't even know they have the power.
Well, Darren,
And if they did themselves,
could we possibly launch, what's the word for it when you get all those signatures together?
Petition.
A petition, yeah.
yeah.
Can we help with that? Yeah, that's what we'll stick that up on the website as well. We're capable of doing that. As I says, we're myself and Darren are not saying what has gone on here, but what we're saying is that it probably should be looked at again. Do you know that it's absolutely no harm when you have 3 men in prison to reconsider the evidence that was used to prosecute them, especially when it's your opinion, Colm, that this is what's taken place.
Oh,
you know,
it's not my opinion. I have it in black and white documentation we wrote from different parts of the country to them for confirmation of certain things, and we got it. We got it with their signatures on it. Like, I have probably 10 documents with Fintan J. Murphy's signature on it. Signature for the High Court orders, and to make it even better, the night that the boys, that the trespassers will say was removed, the night the British agents was removed from Falsk, that night at 11:30, Aidan Devlin, that hired the British agents, sent an email to Fintan J. Murphy. I have a copy of the email that I'm in Falsk, in Strokestown. I have an updated signed execution order. This is a week or 10 days after it should have been lodged in the High Court.
okay.
He says, I have an updated, signed, in bold, right, execution order. And we can meet with, what do you call Boyle? Superintendent Boyle, Seamus Boyle, in Strokestown tomorrow to discuss the same.
Why do I get the feeling that there's going to be a lot of well-to-do civil servants who'll be retiring to areas of no jurisdiction before this is heard?
Yeah. Yeah, and look at, now that you mentioned jurisdiction, is that they, and it's going back to what I said to the judge in the High Court, that if they committed murder, if they were convicted on false, perjured evidence, it's not a conviction. No court can grant
Yes.
that they don't have the jurisdiction. So what I'm saying is that the court that convicted Paul, PJ Sweeney and Martin O'Toole had no jurisdiction because it was working off false paper, forged documents and perjury.
So that's number 15. I say that the Article 40.42 degrees. So let's head on. And I think there's just, is it summary left?
Yeah, well, I don't have the summary on this one. Yeah,
That's all right.
Summary, oh yeah. Yeah, we need, that's just what I was looking for. We need immediate inquiry under Article 40.4.2 of the Constitution of ERA. That's it. But to tell you why I had to get the 12 sworn affidavits of the 13 in as an exhibit, because the court wouldn't take them individually.
Yes. Well,
So
look at
I put
that's the affidavit. As I said, we have no difficulty putting this up because it's yourself who has compiled it. We're simply facilitating it to get to public knowledge, and then, you know, I'm going to go out on a limb. I won't speak for Darren, but I'll speak for myself. I think people need to get behind the idea of this at least being heard and being reconsidered. But it would be my opinion, looking at this, that, you know, whoever the judge is in this, the men should be released until this is heard.
That's why I went in for the Article 40s for 10 of them.
Yeah.
Because all that they do on an appeal or anything like that is try and put out more propaganda.
Yeah. Well, look at, and we're going to absolutely level with the audience. We had a recording before.
Yes.
And basically, we wanted everything to be
Yes.
that nothing could be questioned, quizzed, anything like that. So we've done everything in black and white, and we're going to leave it up to the audience to read it, consider it, and see, and hopefully support the signing of a petition to get this re-looked at. Because, like, the idea to me is absolutely abhorrent that someone in Ireland can be put out of their home without an order of any description.
Yeah.
You know, that's abhorrent to me.
And people that tries to stand up against the criminality, jailed.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened.
Yes.
That's exactly what happened. And just to tell you, for anyone that says get a good solicitor, they are part of the bar, the same as the judges, the same as the barristers. They do what they're told by the state.
Yes.
They are part of the same corporation. It's like you're working for McDonald's. If you're upstairs counting money or downstairs serving, you do what's best for McDonald's. Now, the thing about these solicitors, Paul had 3 lots that wouldn't take instruction or didn't take instruction.
Yes.
Martin O'Toole had 2 lots and PJ Sweeney had 2 lots. None of them, because they cannot. The man that's at the head of this, Ross Fanning, he's the Attorney General. He was the one that introduced and got us. He couldn't bring it back to when we wouldn't leave the premises. They got an injunction against us. Like, if someone came in here to your premises and they wouldn't leave it, what would you do? Wouldn't you go to the guards and say, them are breaking the law, they're trespassing, will you remove them?
No, I wouldn't personally, but
No, personally. We'll say it.
I'm sure everyone else would. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we have the same, similar thoughts. But that's what the law-abiding, whatever you want to call them, the ordinary Joe Soap out there do is report and say, trespassing, and I want you to remove them. And the guards would come and remove them.
Yeah.
They couldn't do that with us because they had no orders. And they knew we were onto the order. So what did they do? Go and get the court to make an order for us to stay away. And if we break that order, then we're jailed. Because it's the order of the court we're breaking, not trespassing. They couldn't do us a trespass because they were the trespassers. The whole thing is just to have it twisted, turned, and the unravelling of this, it's mind-blowing.
Yes. Yeah.
But the ways that it was orchestrated and the ways that they plastered over lies, and they're all there, and now we have them out. And we have them down on paper, and every paper to back up what we're saying.
Well, I think we'll just call it Release to Strokestown 3 at this stage, and we have to get a tagline to it and get the people behind it, because there are so many people who were... there were so many people who witnessed it at the time.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is they didn't know the ins and outs of it, and a lot of people do kind of operate on, how would you say, second-hand information and that. But as this outlines, this is very clear. This outlines from before the case to during the case to what's happening now after the case.
Yes.
And I think it needs to be dealt with.
Maybe something that a lot of your listeners understand. All mightn't, because it has taken, I've been stuck in it for 5 years, and it's only now that it has become clear. When that loan for whatever it was, 120 or whatever thousand at the time was taken out with IIB home loans, they were the first ones. It was securitised. And KBC was only a service and bank. KBC never gave the McGann's family a penny. But the fact that the mortgage was securitised, that means you'd have heard the Master of the High Court on about the title, that the title has to go with the asset. It's the same as you having a car and you sell the logbook to Patricia and you sell the car to me. One is no good without the other. It's the same with the securitisation. They securitised the asset, and KBC Bank went into land registry. KBC Bank was never on land registry, but they went into the court and made the claim
that they were
that they owned the interest in it.
Well, look,
so the whole
today is Thursday, the 17th of April. We're going to give full disclosure to the audience. Next week, we have a podcast on the Friday. It's a bit of a controversial one. We're hoping that'll bump up the numbers watching the show. And then the following Friday, we want to have this out. In that time, I think we could have probably some capacity of a petition going where people can sign their name that they want this re-looked at, that they feel uncomfortable with what is, stated here. I want to go to yourself, Patricia. You're living with the loss of your husband at the moment.
Yeah.
And all of this information, you're privy to it. You must feel absolutely terrible that, there is a miscarriage here taking place where your husband is in prison, despite the fact that the evidence used to put him in prison is absent.
It's beyond belief, and it's beyond feelings anymore, because the more Colm finds out and presents to me and to the others, the more you're blown away by it. And the worse that makes me feel and us feel that Paul is in prison for this.
Yeah.
And they're more criminal by 1,000% than Paul ever was.
They've always been that way, yeah.
And what I have to thank yourself and Darren for doing this. What I hate to think is that the general public out there thinks Paul Beirne is a criminal, and PJ and Martin, and anytime the case is mentioned in mainstream media, they don't say anything about any of this, but they will say about, the thugs, and they highlight the violence and all of that carry on, alleged violence, okay? And that boils my blood. And in the meantime, I'm at home with no husband. It's like, I just describe it as like a death with no funeral.
Yeah.
I see him once an hour, once a week, on a Sunday, and it's not a nice place to go into. So God knows what it's like to be inside for and no freedom.
But
for this,
from what I'm told, he's a very well respected man in there, because I think, I'd be talking to 2 or 3 gentlemen in there, they know they should be there.
Yeah.
But they're fully aware that them men should not be there.
Yeah, and
Which is a strange thing,
it is,
you know.
yeah, and
it's
a lot of
strange
people
thing.
say that, and Paul is very well looked after, I have to say, and he does garden a lot of respect in there. And he always did. He was the cattleman. He went to the marts, he bought good cattle. He was the great judge of animals, and he drove his lorry, and he minded his business, and we reared a family, and 30 years down the line now he's not at home, you know.
Yeah.
For what? You know, for this crap, and for people covering up lies. And the people, and I've said it before, the people that you rely on to stand up for you and maybe bring some justice to it all, like the guards and your legal team. Not one, not two, but 3 legal teams made up of 4 people each. None of them gave a shit. Excuse my French, but they didn't. And when you're relying on people like that to do justice, or to even highlight some of the covered up all of that as the trial was going on. I didn't attend the trial, I couldn't. But when I got the transcripts, it was so obvious that they were hopping and trotting from different things, and as Colm says, breaking for a day here and letting out the jury for an hour and presenting evidence with no jury. It was a farce. Absolute farce. And I don't think about it because I can't think about it too often. I'd either get very, very angry, which is not good for me, or very, very depressed. So it's only at times like these I really think about it, and I just get so angry.
From the date of, we'll say, the event to when the final prosecution came through, what time period are you talking about there?
The trial was in 2023. 5 years, but 4 years. Yeah. 19. 4 years, yeah. Yeah.
That's a long time, you know, and I know it's came to this conclusion, but that's a long time living in limbo as well.
But you see, James, what people don't realise is we were plodding along life happy as Larry because we never thought that, number one, it would go to a trial because of all that corruption.
Yes.
And number two, that he'd ever be convicted of anything.
Yes.
So we were plodding along as happy as Larry.
Yeah.
And that's the truth, because we couldn't believe that it would come to this stage. And even right up to the very last, I was in Galway having treatment the day Paul was found guilty. And a friend that was at the trial rang me. And I said, oh, great, it's over. They're ringing me I'd go home soon. Picked up the phone. They found guilty. I said, what are you talking about? That's rubbish. They couldn't be. And it wasn't that I was in La La Land. It was, I really thoroughly believed that they'd see through the corruption and the forgery and the fraud. But alas, that was not to be. So, it wasn't a noose around our necks for the 5 years, to be honest. Because we never doubted that it should come to this. And now he's almost 2 years in prison. 2 years in June.
And 13 years as a sentence?
15.
15 years.
15 years, yeah. And people out there might say, oh, well, you're, dealing with legal aid and they're working for the state. Every one of them are working for the state. One of those guys that were convicted, he paid private legal teams. He handed over a lot of money. So it was the same difference. He's still inside.
And it's like my uncle says one time, he says, it doesn't matter which clown you're looking at, they're all in the one tent.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
that's why he wasn't
Correct.
fair or wrong about
Yeah,
it.
but
So
it is, yeah. And these are the fellas and women that, go to college and we tip our hats and bow ourselves to them and think they're great and they're educated and that they wouldn't do you harm. I'm sorry. That's completely wrong.
How is day to day? Because you have a farm, and I'm familiar with a farm, and
Busy now these days.
yeah, that's right. And I see, I know your daughter is very good and all that, but it's hard to run a farm without a man on the place.
It is, yeah.
And and I'm not coming.
I know.
I'm not trying to be the traditional man or that, but it's difficult.
I know. It is difficult. It is difficult. Even to get a bale of straw down from a loft, is hard. But I have great family, and I have a few good friends like Colm. And Colm I don't ask Colm to do farming or anything, but Anthony himself would be doing 90% of my farming. And my brother chimes in, and I have two brothers and my sisters, and only for them. The support, a few neighbours that believe in Paul and he did good turns for, would always come and ask, you know, do you need anything? Like we had 3 calves yesterday. Born, bang, bang, bang. You know,
All
you couldn't
healthy.
keep that up on your own.
All healthy.
All healthy, thanks
That's
to God.
good. That's good.
And for them close people that I have around me, God, praise God for them. And that's another thing is my faith. My faith keeps me going. A great belief. And I just have to try and keep positive. The phone rings every day and Paul is at the end of it. What's new? Any news? And I have to say good things.
Yeah.
Because I don't want his spirits going down.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough to be able to stay positive all the time. And at the end of the day, when you close the door and you walk upstairs and there's nobody coming in,
Yeah.
it's not nice.
No.
Not after 30 years, like.
No.
So I want people, and I really am grateful for you for doing this, I want people to know the truth.
Yeah.
And to know what's behind all of this, you know? And I'm so, hopefully this will do something.
Well, as nice as what we're going to do is try and get it to an audience, because you see, this is one of the things too with, you know, mainstream media gets advertisement money from the state companies, and mainstream media is never going to take on a case like this, because this is, I do say, this is your RTE effect, which is you have a television license coming from the government and people think they're doing hard-hitting pieces. They're not.
Yeah.
So, look, thanks be to God, in the modern era, we have a little bit of an opportunity to speak about these things, because the platforms that you put this out on, thank God, are not Irish owned.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and
Yeah,
I thank
absolutely.
God
I
every
agree.
day for that, you know.
I agree, yeah.
Colm, go on ahead.
Yeah, and just and the back up to what we said about the legal teams and them not representing, like in the middle, well, towards the end of the trial, I had compiled a lot of this evidence with the false documentation, and I emailed Miss Rowland, the senior prosecutor for the DPP, and Mr. McGillicuddy. He was the second prosecutor for the DPP. I have copies of the emails and the contents. They were aware of this, and when there was a doubt, when there's someone's freedom being taken away, they have a duty being paid by the state to uphold the constitutional right of every man, woman and child in it, and they didn't.
And they won't.
And they won't. What they're doing the last while is just scurrying, returning post and not accepting it and just running for cover, because they know they have been answering too much in the past. And it's, as I said, it's not something that I'm saying must have happened. Everything I'm saying, I have a document, dated, timed and proof from their own hand.
Well, what I'm going to, and we're going to finish up, what I'm going to say, and Darren will clip it and stick it at the front of this programme too, is what we have here in this is definitive proof, it seems to me, of how the Irish state operates.
Yes.
And I want anyone who watches this to tag Conor McGregor, Tucker Carlson, anyone that you see with a platform who seems to be interested in Irish affairs at the moment and has enough of an audience to get this to have a little bit of movement behind it. You know, we're just two guys in a cowshed, but you're the ones that are interested in Ireland and how it works. And
it's a reminder that this kind of corruption and fake journalism with the mainstream media isn't a new thing.
No, it's not.
It's not since COVID. This is
going on a very, very long time. It's going on a very, very long time. And like, as I say, we had rules a couple of years ago that you couldn't put stone on the front of your house without seeking planning permission, or you couldn't have more than one chimney without planning permission. But if you feel like building up a block of apartments to house the world, not a problem. Fire ahead, buddy. And you know, yeah, we as a people, you know, we as Irish people, we're getting sick and tired of this. And maybe we need to make a bit of a fuss on an international stage to show these things, but we'll pin them this evening. We're going to call them the Strokestown 3, like the Birmingham 6. So we'll try and get them out.
Well, miscarriage of justice as well, it's the same thing. And it was so poignant that time that they had to do something to show, to take the bad away from what the British was doing.
No, it's not the same thing. It's worse.
It's worse.
Because what happened there was a foreign government pinned it on people. What's happening here is your own countrymen and women are misguiding.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And something that I did forget to mention, that Leo Varadkar said in the Dáil that they had a valid, that KBC Bank had a valid High Court order. You're a liar, Leo. They didn't. Charlie Flanagan said it on RTE News Talk that they had a valid High Court order. The following, that happened in December, Pascal Donoghue had a meeting with KBC Bank in March, and he was happy that all was in order with him. That's the three. We have some of them there today already. Flanagan is gone, Varadkar is gone, but Pascal Donoghue is still Minister for Finance. Banks. So, like, this is what's running our country.
But I'd like to thank both of you for being here. We're going to try our best on our end, you know. We're going to try our level best. What I'm going to say once again to everyone listening is this is a really, really important case, and it warrants you to look at it. And what we're going to try and do is get these pages up and then a little petition underneath where you can sign your name and hopefully collect as many names as possible that it can be brought to whoever is the minister. That I reckon the timing is good. Because when we recorded it before, you know, we wanted to get everything down to a T, but things have changed in the meantime. There's a little bit of international interest in Ireland now. The timing is good. So
it's all meant to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. God bless you both for coming.
Well, God bless you for giving us the
No problem at
opportunity
all.
and to be able to get the facts out there, because, as we said, no mainstream media will touch it. They just won't. That's it.
Well, don't worry, they'll report on it when it's safe for them to. Now, God bless you all.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you.